In 1848, on an ordinary January morning in Northern California, James Marshall, the leader of the construction crew tasked with building a sawmill, strolled towards the American River to inspect their progress. Little did he know that what he would stumble upon would forever alter the course of California, and in many ways, the entire world. Describing this pivotal moment, Marshall would later recount, "As I reached down and lifted it from the riverbed, my heart began to race. I was convinced. It was gold." Almost instantaneously, hundreds of thousands of people from all corners of the globe would flock to the rugged mountains of California, descending upon its muddy rivers in the hopes of securing their personal fortunes. Entrepreneurs swiftly established their businesses, while others discovered that the fertile soils of the Central Valley promised even greater riches through agriculture. Before anyone could blink, California had transformed into an industrial, agricultural, and technological powerhouse. Giving birth to some of history's most groundbreaking innovations, it swiftly became a global beacon of culture and entertainment, embodying the essence of the American dream for well over a century. The world looked on with envy at California's state-of-the-art infrastructure, world-class education, affordable land, and the booming economy that ensued. While the California dream didn't guarantee success for everyone all the time, it remained the world's most accessible place for those willing to work diligently and reap the rewards of the Golden State. Despite all its splendor, California experienced a historic population decline in 2020, an event now referred to as the Great California Exodus. Over the past 2 decades, hundreds of thousands have bid farewell to the Golden State, and this exodus is gaining momentum. The primary reason cited by the majority of departing residents is California's exorbitant cost of living. Purchasing even a modest single-family home in California requires an income at least 7 times the median. Shockingly, half of Los Angeles County's residents allocate more than 50% of their earnings solely to cover rent. It's not just individuals, though. Numerous major corporations, including industry giants like Oracle, HP, and Tesla, have already departed or are in the process of relocating due to California's increasingly unfriendly business climate. Despite boasting a colossal economy that would rank 5th globally if it were a sovereign nation, a deeper analysis adjusting for the cost of living and taxes reveals that California isn't as affluent as it might appear on the surface. With the 2nd highest cost of living, trailing only Hawaii, it's no surprise that California boasts the highest proportion of its population living below the poverty line and is home to half of the entire homeless population in the United States. So, how did California, once a symbol of incredible prosperity, evolve into an inhospitable place for a large portion of its inhabitants? This is the narrative of the ascent and decline of the California dream. To say that California, in 1848, bore little resemblance to its modern incarnation would be a vast understatement. Back then, it was an official Mexican territory, but occupied by the United States during the Mexican-American War. Despite its vast expanse and generally favorable climate, its population was sparse, numbering only 150,000 individuals, of which a mere 4.5% were non-Native Americans. The discovery of gold by James Marshall would prove to be a seismic catalyst, setting off the most massive migration in the history of the United States. In total, over 300,000 people poured in, not just from within the United States, but also from far-reaching corners of the globe such as China, South America, Australia, and Europe. To all these newcomers, San Francisco became the bustling port and gateway to the land of golden opportunities, and its population soared from a mere 218 to a staggering 37,000 in just 5 years. Gold mining became so lucrative that San Francisco's port began to be dominated by abandoned ships, as their crews and captains alike ventured to strike it rich in the gold fields. To meet the insatiable demand, a vibrant and booming economy sprouted forth, with miners freely spending their newfound wealth. This economic surge gave rise to the establishment of numerous new towns and cities, all geared towards supplying the burgeoning needs of the gold rush. At one point, the demand for beef was so immense that 60,000 longhorns were driven all the way from Texas, transforming Southern California into the nation's largest producer of dairy and meat. California also possessed significant geographical advantages. Its Central Valley, blessed with fertile soil and an ideal climate, proved to be an agricultural treasure trove. Although initially constrained by water scarcity, the state overcame these challenges by adopting winter wheat cultivation, ultimately becoming the leading producer by 1890. Furthermore, California's extensive coastline facilitated trade, particularly with Asia, and laid the foundation for a thriving fishing industry. This unprecedented economic and demographic expansion enabled California to ascend from the status of a mere territory, becoming a fully fledged state by 1850, even enjoying the privilege of determining its own borders. Flush with wealth, the new government embarked on crucial infrastructure projects and invested heavily in education, introducing near-universal school education and establishing its first universities. While the gold bonanza eventually ran its course, California received another monumental boost to its economy. The construction of the Central Pacific Rail Line commenced in 1863, and a mere 6 years later, it linked up with the Union Pacific Line in Utah. This newfound connectivity directly linked California with the rest of the United States, leading to reduced overall prices, heightened industry profits, and accelerated population growth. Simultaneously, savvy marketing by the railroad and tourism industries successfully portrayed California as a healthy, comfortable, and affordable place to live, sparking a real estate boom. Those not planning to settle in California became tourists, eager to witness its breathtaking natural beauty. By the dawn of the 20th century, California was positioned to dominate the economic expansion of the United States. By the year 1900, California's population had surged an astounding 13-fold, and this growth showed no signs of slowing down. However, a few pivotal factors would propel California from a regional powerhouse to a global force to be reckoned with. Firstly, the discovery of extensive, easily accessible oil reserves near Los Angeles and the San Joaquin Valley played a crucial role. Kerosene was rapidly replacing whale oil for illumination, and oil was becoming indispensable for lubrication in the burgeoning machine age. The rise of the automobile further fueled the nation's thirst for gasoline. Consequently, a major oil industry blossomed, with California leading the nation in oil production by 1903, churning out a staggering 4 million barrels annually. Simultaneously, the entertainment industry was undergoing a rapid transformation due to innovations in film. However, the technology required for filmmaking was heavily patented, primarily controlled by Thomas Edison, headquartered in New York. In an effort to evade royalties, numerous film companies sought refuge as far away as possible, and Southern California, with its diverse landscapes, year-round sunshine, burgeoning talent pool, and considerable distance from New York, emerged as the ideal destination. Thus, the Hollywood film industry was born, not only raking in vast sums of money, but also projecting California's allure and culture, first domestically and eventually worldwide. With California's ever-increasing population, the state found itself needing to reshape its natural environment. Cities in the Central Valley were grappling with water shortages, prompting the launch of ambitious water projects worth billions of dollars. Initiatives like the Central Valley Project and the Los Angeles Aqueduct redirected copious amounts of water from mountains and rivers to farmlands and urban centers. This not only facilitated a surge in residents, but also transformed California's heartland into the most prolific agricultural region in the United States. Simultaneously, there was substantial investment in expanding railroads and an expansive highway system, further boosting industrial growth. Fortune smiled upon California once again during the early to mid-20th century. Its strategic location led to substantial military investments, with ideal weather and training facilities attracting airfields and naval ports. The emergence of Japan as a military threat during World War II propelled the development of new naval ports and large-scale shipyards. California evolved into a military-industrial powerhouse, retaining its vital role even after the war. The state attracted 25% of the entire Department of Defense's contracts and 40% of military research contracts, particularly in the aerospace sector, which continued to be a major source of employment and economic stimulus. further accelerated by the Cold War with the Soviet Union. Perhaps the most critical aspect of California's global significance lay in its educational system. From the outset, California invested in nearly universal basic education. By the 1930s, it led the way in education beyond elementary schools, spearheading the high school movement. Coupled with institutions like the Port of San Francisco, Stanford University, and nearby Moffett Field, the Bay Area became the nucleus of research and development in radio and aerospace. Stanford's emphasis on students commercializing their ideas and seeking venture capital marked the birth of Silicon Valley. Concurrently, California adopted a master plan for higher education, pouring substantial funds into constructing the largest community college system in the nation, expanding undergraduate institutions, and making higher education accessible to all through free tuition. This resulted in 50% of high school graduates enrolling in college, producing a wealth of ideas and talent that Silicon Valley harnessed. Consequently, California became the epicenter of technological innovation, birthing the transistor, integrated circuits, the precursor to the modern internet, the microprocessor, and eventually some of the largest corporations ever created, including HP, Intel, Google, Oracle, Apple, Tesla, and many others. California, especially Silicon Valley, attracted the world's brightest minds and was the catalyst for numerous innovations, making it possible for you to watch this very video. In the 20th century, California firmly established itself as one of, if not the most influential regions in the world. Income soared, job opportunities abounded, and housing remained within reach. If one possessed even a modicum of work ethic or a novel idea, California offered a comfortable life. Although not without its disparities, California during this golden era was unparalleled in its opportunities for everyday individuals. Venice Beach stands as one of California's most iconic destinations, with its famed boardwalk drawing tourists from around the globe. However, an intriguing phenomenon has unfolded in this area, where the resident population decreased by 20% between 1960 and 2010, while the surrounding Los Angeles metro area saw a remarkable 91% population increase. The question arises, how did one of the world's most sought-after locations experience a population decline while its neighboring region thrived? The transformation of Venice Beach can be traced back to a prolonged battle waged by homeowners striving to reduce population density. Their efforts led to the successful implementation of stringent building quotas and restrictions. Beginning in the 1970s, Los Angeles decentralized decision-making, empowering citizen advisory committees. This shift allowed a specific group of affluent homeowners to influence regulations in favor of single-family homes, dissuading further construction and opposing the development of more densely populated and affordable apartment buildings. Their aim was to preserve the tranquil ambiance of single-family neighborhoods while significantly increasing their property values. In addition to these local factors, California's well-known environmental regulations, which make it one of the most regulated states in the country if not the world, contributed to increased costs and diminished housing supply. Furthermore, a law fixing property tax growth transferred the financial burden onto home builders, resulting in California having the highest construction impact fees in the nation. Consequently, since 1960, the average home value in Venice has surged from $20,000 to nearly $2.5 million. This trend, however, is not unique to Venice. It has affected the entire state of California. The consequences have been far-reaching, with the state facing a housing shortage of nearly 4 million units. California now boasts the second lowest homeownership rate, the second highest median home prices, and the highest poverty rate when adjusted for the cost of living. The impact extends beyond housing prices, as the burgeoning population and rising costs have pushed more affordable, densely populated apartment complexes into lower-income neighborhoods. Consequently, the trend of segregation based on race and class has intensified, further exacerbating the overcrowding and underfunding of schools. This phenomenon, often referred to as zip code education, has significantly eroded what was once an admired educational system. The stark reality is that if you are affluent, you have the luxury to reside in areas where you can enroll your children in well-funded schools of your choice. Conversely, if you are economically disadvantaged, you are compelled to receive education from the most neglected and under-resourced schools. California now bears the unfortunate distinction of having the worst student-to-teacher ratio in the nation, ranking 10th lowest in K-12 educational performance and suffering from the 15th highest dropout rate. It's important to note that these statistics are somewhat misleading, as the schools in affluent areas artificially boost the state's averages. The ultimate consequence is a significant reduction in social mobility. Present-day impoverished Californians receive a markedly inferior quality of education, and when coupled with the exorbitant cost of living, their prospects for ascending the socioeconomic ladder have diminished compared to previous generations. This predicament sheds light on why 53% of Californians are contemplating leaving, according to an Edelman intelligence survey. Nonetheless, this is merely the tip of the iceberg when it comes to California's economic challenges. Commencing with the conclusion of the Cold War in 1991, California's military and the adjacent supply chain industries were dealt a significant blow. This, coupled with the overarching trend of American companies outsourcing manufacturing jobs overseas, signaled a shift away from California as the employment powerhouse it had once been. Subsequently, the state has consistently grappled with higher unemployment rates than the rest of the United States, with blue-collar and middle-class populations bearing the brunt of the impact. Silicon Valley, with its highest-paying jobs, has never been a substantial generator of employment opportunities. Consequently, income inequality has steadily risen at a pace outstripping the national average. Presently, California ranks as the fourth most unequal state in terms of income distribution. This economic landscape precipitated a shift in policy, prompting the government to increase taxes on businesses and the highest income earners. The funds thus generated could then be channeled into bolstering the education system, enhancing infrastructure, and fortifying economic safety nets for the less fortunate. In fact, California outpaces all other states by a wide margin in terms of expenditure on healthcare and welfare. It is essential to note that this is not inherently a negative development and aligns logically with the state's priorities. The issue lies in the extent to which taxes and regulations have been amplified. According to a survey of 383 CEOs conducted by Chief Executive Magazine, California ranks at the very bottom in terms of business friendliness. Forbes echoes this sentiment, placing the state near the bottom for its regulatory environment and business costs. In another survey evaluating the fairness of liability systems, California ranked a low 48th. California's 8.84% state corporate income tax, a flat rate, is one of the highest in the nation. This burden doesn't solely fall on companies, as the state also imposes the highest state income tax rate of 13.3% on its ultra-high income earners. When combined with the federal tax rate of 37%, individuals in the top 1% are likely to see nearly half of their incomes taken by taxes. While many may argue that such taxation is justified, it has nonetheless created a significant problem. The top 0.5% of income earners in California now contribute 40% of the state's tax revenue, effectively sustaining most of the state's essential services. However, as other states offer minimal or no state income tax and fewer regulations, there exists a considerable incentive for those shouldering the system's weight to relocate elsewhere. Historically, California's prominent tech companies and their workforce have remained firmly rooted in the state due to the necessity of physical proximity in order to stay connected within the rapidly evolving industry. Qualified tech talent was hard to come by elsewhere, and the costs associated with uprooting and relocating were substantial. However, the landscape has been shifting, particularly in light of the pandemic. The pandemic has fundamentally altered this dynamic. It's no longer imperative for workers to be physically present in the office, and networking can be accomplished without geographical constraints. Moreover, the emergence of alternative regional tech hubs, such as Austin, Texas, has made it easier to find skilled workers outside of California. Consequently, California's comparative advantages in the tech sector are gradually diminishing. This shift is occurring at a time when the state is contemplating raising taxes even further. Businesses are now discovering that they can create greater value for shareholders, generate higher profits, and secure high-quality talent at a lower cost beyond California's borders. In fact, in 2016 alone, 1,800 companies departed the state, and today, California is losing approximately 12 major company headquarters every month. As these businesses relocate, they take with them billions of dollars in state tax revenue. This revenue is critical to sustaining a growing impoverished population, addressing the deteriorating state of the educational system, and addressing long-neglected infrastructure projects. It's worth noting that a significant portion of the state's revenue is derived from capital gains. As California confronts the specter of a recession, the subsequent stock market sell-off threatens to deprive the state of these crucial revenues at a time when they are most needed to support the economy. California now finds itself ensnared in a perplexing dilemma. As economic disparities within the state grow, so does the public demand for taxing the wealthy. However, as taxes on the affluent increase, more businesses and affluent individuals opt to depart, carrying away much-needed tax revenue, thus perpetuating the cycle. Conversely, running for public office on a platform promising tax cuts or reduced spending proves politically perilous, given the historical preference for candidates advocating increased taxation and spending. This predicament suggests that California, its leaders, and its populace might only recognize this issue when it's already too late. California's ascension to economic prominence was built on a series of successive economic booms, from the gold rush to the era of Silicon Valley. However, the current technological boom has led to fewer job opportunities and heightened income inequality. As the state attempts to adapt to this new reality, it inadvertently finds finds itself undermining the very factors that sustain it, its capacity to foster innovation and attract talent from across the globe. Simultaneously, homeowners' campaigns, which have driven property prices to astronomical heights and overcrowded schools, have eroded the once envied California dream, a vision of hard work yielding just rewards. Despite these challenges, California will likely maintain its dominance in the global economy, albeit with diminishing magnitude. In the interim, however, the burden of economic and social repercussions will disproportionately impact the middle and lower classes. It's a stark reminder that not everything that glitters is gold, especially for those who find themselves economically disadvantaged in the Golden State.